What's up, guys?
How's it going?
It's going great, man. How are you?
Good.
Continuing to move my space as we adapt to a different world here. And Hamed, you're usually here with a very specific question, so I'd love to dive into that question, though I'm going to go into what I want to talk about regardless.
Yeah, I know, very specific. So I've got, actually, I don't know, has Nick been joining your Tuesday thing? I've been asking him to join every Tuesday.
For the sales training or leadership training?
Sales.
He could be. There's a good amount of people that are in there now. Oh yes, Nick. I saw him today. He actually was like, also, where's the recording? And he asked like 4 questions.
Okay, got it. So I've known the guy for a long time. So, but he's been here for 7 months. He's not performing well. The PG is just not there. I've tried to work with him on several fronts, trying to figure out how to be constructive so I can help get him out. What I want to do is I want to help get him out. I want to get him to perform. I want him to hit his quota, but I don't seem to be able to do that. So that's what I wanted to figure out from you. You're right. I'm always here with a specific question. So that is the question: is how do I coach somebody to? How do I have the high level? When I get into it, I think he keeps distracting me, so I keep losing focus, and it just goes on tangent, and I don't get anything done. I need to figure out what the problem is, why he's not performing, and then how do I guide him to perform?
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, all I care about is the quota at the end of the month. I don't care how much effort, time. If he has to work 15 hours a day, that's what he has to do. I don't care, but I just feel like, I don't know, he's wasting his time because the PG is not there, and then therefore the quota is not there.
How good is your relationship with him?
Very good. Like, I chew him out all the time. Like, I don't even mind him. Actually, in fact, I'm going to share the recording here with him. So I'm not even going to, I'm just going to send him the recording. He's a good guy. He's just he's just so unfocused, you know?
It's interesting.
Mike, solve the puzzle, buddy.
Sweet. Let's do it. Dre, you're in the office now. You're out of the office now. You're in the office. What the hell's going on? That's weird.
Crazy.
All right. Cool. So actually, Hamed, this is a great question to me. Closing my door, actually. My wife's on a call. This is a great question, and it kind of leads to something I want to talk about anyways, which is we talk a lot about all the different curriculum stuff, if you will. I want to zoom into like, what do I do as a manager? Give me the specifics, the tactical stuff. And I think the majority of this group here has been around the block a little bit with me. So you guys should know the terms that I'm going to be using, feedback, all that kind of stuff. So today, let's actually solve your problem, Hamed, today with everybody else in the call. So what I'm going to talk about today is how do we specifically get our team to do what we want our team to do? And what are the levels I need to go? So how you get anybody to do anything all comes down to one method, the chef method, okay? Clarify, help, execute, follow up. If you want your kids to get out the door and you say, let's get out the door, they're going to go with no clothes on. If you say, let's get out the door with their clothes on, they're going to do it, but not for 20 minutes. If you say, let's get out the door, but you say, here's what I want you to wear, and I'm going to help you wear it, they'll get halfway down the stairs to start playing their Xbox. If you do it and you do all the thing I just said, but then you also are following up every 5 minutes, like, are you fucking going? Are you going? Are you going? Then they'll get out there. So you need all 3 legs of the bar stool to make sure that people can move forward. So how do we get an AE or a person on our team to do what we want them to do? If you manage managers, think about this as, how do we get our managers to do what we want them to do? Okay, so we're going to go down, Chef, and I'm going to give you the specifics. My expectation today is that you guys will push back or ask for clarifying questions. I'm hoping you guys don't just sit back and chill, although if that's what you have to do, I totally understand. I'm hoping you guys are like, well, wait a second, I did this, what would you do here? Or like, I got this problem, what would you do here? Because it's those moments where this stuff will hit. You guys have all heard me say Chef 10,000 times, but it's not always hitting in the moment because you just didn't hear it at the right time, where the planet was in the right spot. All right. So the first thing you need to do is you need to make really clear the boundaries of the room that they're in. So if they're allowed to, if you give any ambiguity, you should expect there to be a lack of focus. Okay. So what I mean here is you want to clarify the big jobs you want them to do, the medium jobs you want them to do, and the today jobs you want them to do. So this might sound like this. Hey man, this year I need you to put yourself in a position where you can have 500 deals in your pipeline with $300 million of revenue and be able to make 50 dials per day. That's by the end of the year, I need you to get there. That said, what I need in the next couple of months, is I need to see you generating pipeline. By pipeline, what I mean is this much pipeline. Here's how you do it. It's with calls. It's with emails. Here's specific emails you can send or whatever. So very specific numbers, if you can, on like what you want them to accomplish. And then a lot of times I still get questions of people that are 40 years old asking me, well, what's like the day-to-day look like? And you're like, this is kind of a weird question to ask, but it's because they're just trying to understand, like, what do you want my day-to-day to look like? Because I could be a sales rep who spends all their time outside, all their time inside, emailing, calling, yelling at everybody, looking at research, and all these things I can do. And I have in my mind my vision of what that is, but I want to clarify what that is with you. If they're not asking that question, we should be clarified. So the first is like long-term, medium-term, short-term goals. Super clear. Second level is more like, here's what I need you to do this quarter. And the third level is like, what should your day-to-day look like? The better that you spend the time, think about this. We all know with ChatGPT or whatever, the better the prompt, the better the answer. So we write like, what should I do? It's going to be like, you should keep loving yourself because you're incredible. And we have to be like, okay, pretend that you're Sigmund Freud. These are my current situations, blah, 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 blah. What are the top 3 things you'd recommend? So we need to take that extra like few seconds to think about for like the world's smartest computer. But when it comes to humans, we feel like we should just be like, dude, get to $100 million. I don't care how you get there. Work 100 hours a day. You got it. As if they're going to be able to be like, okay, I know how to figure out how to get there. The reality is the closer we can help them, the closer we can clarify the world they're living in, the better they'll be adept to do it. So clarify their job, clarify their tasks, and when you do that, that will make it clear for them like what they need to do. If I say to the football team, hey, I need you to run your heart out, they're like, okay, I got a vision of what that is. If that tell the football team, hey, in the next 2 minutes, I need you to run and nobody can stop running until they vomit. You're like, okay, that's like so much clearer. I now know how much to pace myself. Remember when we were in tryouts and shit, and we played football or baseball, whatever we played, and you were like, okay, fuck, we're like towards the end of he's having us do wall sits. And you're sort of like in your mind, what's the word I'm looking for? Pacing yourself to like settle into that wall sit because you know how much time you have based on like where we are in the day. That same thing has to happen for you with your team. They're not sure how many of things you want them to do, how much, how often, how intense. They don't know that. So if you're like, I need you to make a minimum of 100 calls a day. Every single day, you should not leave without having hit 10 doors. Each of those conversations you have must include a discovery, a demo, and a next step. Every single thing in our CRM must look like this. When you clarify that, they can then think through how they're going to do it. So instead of just like go figure it out, when you clarify for them the more specifics, they can then figure out, okay, knowing what he wants me to do in the CRM, now I know how to do it the way I want to do it versus in general. Okay, so that's like, how do I do my job? The most important bit of the clarifying, though, is number 2, which is clarifying heaven and clarifying hell. Every single person is, all of us included, we do the minimum required to not get in trouble. And if you're thinking, no, I don't, you can get in trouble externally and also internally. You know that if you don't work hard in a day, you are going to yell at yourself. So you know there's a minimum you have to do in order to not yell at yourself. However, oftentimes the minimum that I need to do to not yell at myself is lower than the minimum that you want me to do. So you need to clarify. Here is what bad looks like. If this happens, you will no longer work here. This is not the best example, but here, I'll show this. Slide. Here's this dude I have as like a DM setter for me. Saw you weren't able to get any sets last week. What's the biggest change you're looking to make this week? If there are still 0 this week, then it'll be challenging to continue. All good. Here's his answer. Totally understand if it doesn't work by end of week. So I've just clarified for him, if you don't get to 5 sets this week, if you're at 0, you're fired. And he was like, I understand. Okay. Now I could go more into this with him. There's feedback, there's coaching, there's a variety of things for me to do with this guy, right? But that's one example I want to bring here. I'm clarifying for him the boundary because he actually was supposed to get 5 by Friday of last week. I never brought it up. I was busy. I didn't care enough. He's commission only. I don't care as much. But today, he didn't say anything on Monday. Hey, I think I missed the thing. What happens? You didn't follow up with me to scare me. But today I'm like, don't forget. And he's like, on it. And he's literally like, if you have to fire me on Friday, I get it. So you can see how important it is. You have to clarify. If you don't do that, you will not meet my expectations. So if you're thinking, Mike, I'm not going to fire everybody for everything they do or don't do. That's great. You shouldn't. But you should have a specific thing that you have, which might be, this is not meeting my expectations. They should know that you will be there to call them out which may be feedback, which may be coaching, which may be one-on-ones, which may just be a phrase. But they should know, like this guy should know that when we have a one-on-one, it's the first thing I'm going to say or whatever, or it's a phrase I'm going to use. So if you're like, I don't have a phrase, I don't have a thing, I kind of like try to be nice to everybody, it's not helping. It's hurting. You don't need to be a dick. You just need to have the simplest way is a phrase. You were supposed to
Be
do this.
kind. Yeah.
Do this. This does not meet my expectations.
Yeah.
And I
I
would
tell everybody on
say, what are you going to do? But either way, like it needs to be clear what the expectations are, so that if they don't, it shouldn't be a surprise when you say that. So you need to clarify, what is it? I need you to get 5, I need you to get 100, I need you to get 13. I need this to be 80% done, 90% done. I need you to be 4 out of 5 confident, 8 out of 5 confident. But there needs to be clarity on hell, and there needs to be clarity on heaven. So like my expectation is you do blank. So if they do below that expectation, or sorry, it would be, so with this kid, for example, I remember saying to him, I was like, hey, my expectation is that you're going to get at least 5 meetings in the next week. And I'm hoping you get 7, 5 from this category, 2 from these categories. He was like, I'm on it. Today, I was like, you didn't get any meetings. You're not meeting my expectations. So I clarified him, heaven is 7, hell is 5. He didn't hit 5. So I'm like, you stink. I'm not firing him, but I'm basically saying in 5 days, you'll be fired. Cool. My recommendation for everyone right here in this call is to have a mental idea or just thought process in your mind of what are your 3 levels. We've talked about for sales reps, the specific levels, meaning if you're below 50% for any given month, I say you stink formally. Next month, below 50, you're fired. Next month, above 75, you're good. And next month, you're in between, you're put on a pit. So I've got this memorized, written out for reps, but that's like just performance. What about a rep who's at 75% every month for 6 months? He never technically qualifies for this thing. So I would recommend, I'm getting a little bit of myself, I would recommend everybody has a 3 levels. For me, it's feedback on that feedback, and then it's a coaching plan, a formal coaching plan. Feedback on that feedback, and then a formal coaching plan. So if I say to you, James, like, hey, I need you to whatever. If this kid did this a week, let's say, forget the whole firing thing. His goal is 20, let's say, and he did 5 for a week. And the next week he did 10, the next week he did 1, so he became shy. And then the following month, it was kind of the same, middle. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm like, hey, can I give you some feedback? When you miss your target by 3, that makes it really challenging for you to make money. And of course, during our one-on-one, I'll do some general coaching, but that's always happening. If that happened again, I'd be like, hey, can I give you some feedback? When you missed your target by 3, and then after I give you feedback on that, you missed it again, it makes me feel like you maybe don't understand how serious things are, and you're at risk of losing your job or missing my expectation consistently, and therefore not making as much money as you want. So feedback on the feedback. Like I've already done this. And then the final is going to be a formal coaching plan. So I gave a very informal one here, just like, hey, what's your plan? I'll continue to coach in our one-on-ones like normal, but this will be like a separate meeting that I'm like, I will carve out and be like, Tom, I got to talk to you about it. This is not going well. I gave you this feedback. It didn't work. Give you feedback on that feedback. That also didn't work. We've talked about coaching the last few months. So I want to write down like a really specific plan that we're going to work through. So for me, that's mine. You guys, I'd recommend that you have one. Steal it, sure, or have your own. But if you don't have that and it's not consistent, people will always feel like, I don't know if dad's going to yell at mom. I don't know if I'm going to get my car taken away. We know how that felt, right? In like high school, and you weren't sure if it was your brother or sister, whoever did certain things, like what kind of level of trouble they'd be in. And it creates a sense of anxiety. And that's how you get, what's the word I'm looking for? That's how you command by fear versus commanding by respect, which is like they know it's coming. Go with me so far? Sweet. So clarify. Your prompt needs to be good. If I could put that in different words, spend the time on the prompt. Number 2 is the help. I've said this in a couple of meetings ago, but when you delegate down, people can only handle like two max, like big tasks at any given point in time, and a couple small tasks. But any small task that you have as a manager, when you delegate it down, it turns into a big task. Because this person it's like, oh my God, it's from my boss. They're not saying this, but like, it's my boss. Is it going to be, what does he mean? How does he like it? Blah, blah, blah. And you're like, dude, just fucking call the guy. This is not a big deal. But for them, it's a really big task. So I say this to say, anything you're telling your team to do, even if it seems natural, the thing they should be doing, they likely need, or at least deserve, help. Help, typically, I would say, falls in a couple of categories. It's documentation, curation, or introduction. Documentation, curation, or introduction. So I'm either like, you got to do this thing. I wrote a script for it. Or I found a bunch of scripts online and put it in the chat GPT and curated the top 2, documentation or curation. Or it's, I set up a call between you and this guy, Mike, who's going to do training on Tuesdays, introduction. In all of these items, I'm not really doing much. I'm Googling potentially, but I am getting momentum going. So if you want him to do something, you might video yourself doing it. Here's exactly what I mean by video. You got to do this. I've helped people by making GPTs where I'm like, here's all my instructions on how to do this. It's in a GPT. So if you need questions, like it's right there to tell you. Here's a template with the video next to it. Or it's a lot of times, I just went and found like 3 different sources of people online talking about topic. Here's a way for you to get started. Okay. And if you are the only person for that help, by the way, like if you're like, I need you to know about our product and I'm the only person who works here, then that help might be an actual meeting with you. But most of the time it should be able to be delegated out, if you will, by being like, here's documents, read them. Here's a curation of stuff, read it. Or here's an introduction, go have that meeting. Cool. And then the final one I've got here is the most important, which is the follow-up. Follow-up, we talked about it. I kind of mashed these 2 things together from earlier, talking about you'd have 3 different levels, but follow-up comes in a variety of ways. So follow-up is going to be, I'm going to give feedback. It might mean I now have a phrase that I say just consistently. I had a manager once who was always like, you guys afraid to be a millionaire? Afraid to be a millionaire? That was his phrase. And so it became a culture, and it was like, if I didn't close a deal, he'd be like, Manzi, what was that deal about you missed? What are you afraid to be a millionaire, man? So it was like, that was a follow-up in itself. It wasn't a feedback, but it was a follow-up of like, hey, we have a culture of this and you didn't do the thing. Does that mean you're not aligned with the culture? What's going on here? Right? Follow-up might be, that same guy I'll say too, it was just in Chicago, and he brought us like Trump Tower just to like show us super fancy apartments. It was like, could you guys afford this? And to get you all jacked up that way. But either way, he's following up. So feedback is one way to do it. A theme, billboard, posters, physical things, it does make a difference. That stuff matters. Monday mashup. If you have a Monday meeting with everybody, I've got a scorecard. I got a leaderboard right there. That's follow-up. Someone told me yesterday he wants his team to start. You guys have seen here, Jose Reinbold. He's in somewhere in Europe. He's trying to get his whole team to do these new spin selling. He's trying to get the whole team to do spin selling. So I'm like, cool. First thing you got to do is you got to have a leaderboard for your team, because you don't have a leaderboard at all. So he needs a leaderboard of like hundreds. But I'm like, do you have Gong or like Outreach or some recording software? He goes, yes. I go, sweet. In your recording software, go add in like searching for the times that this phrase is used, a certain phrase that you're going to be training the team on. And then every Monday have a leaderboard that shows them the percent of calls everybody's using those phrases on. You don't have to even say anything. Just saying, here's a leaderboard will create a sense of people wanting to do more because you're following up. So feedback, Monday mashup, leaderboards are very popular for me, and following through on your performance. I think the hardest thing as parents, a lot of times, as well as managers, is follow through. I tell my kid not to complain. He complains, but you're like, this time it kind of feels warranted. Maybe I shouldn't tell him he shouldn't go. But in doing that, he complains more. Same thing. People on our team were like, he missed this target, but I know he tried so hard. Yes, but he missed the target. So you're doing him a disservice by saying, like, I don't respect you enough to let you know when you're doing bad, because I'm actually kind of just afraid of you, and I'm a huge bitch. So it's important that you're saying, you didn't meet my expectations. I'm excited to see the effort that you put in, but I want to make sure it's clear expectations still have not been met. Okay. So there's a few different ways to clarify, help, and follow up specifically for the sales team. I'd love to field some questions or pushback on some of this, whether it's a specific situation that you're in, might be in, or anything. I have more too, but so don't leave.
So the real thing, the reason why I asked Ahmed what your relationship is with your rep is because, like, if there really is no connection between the two and it's just business and numbers, like, you're going to see the biggest difference with performance in what they're willing to push in their own lives. Like, if there's nothing there that's personal, then they're going to be like, all right, now I know I have 6 months to do this job, and let me just start looking for other places.
True. And one is the personal connection, # run your goddamn one-on-ones. Number 2 is the motivation gap. So the harder they think you are working for them, the harder they will work for you. And this goes back to the clarification. If you just throw me, if you go like, bro, just fucking make $1 million. All right, I'll see you later. And you're doing shit, but everyone assumes that whoever with their boss isn't doing even nearly how much they're doing, by the way. He's like, okay, I'm going to work this hard. But if you're like, hey man, I looked at the sheet and here's everybody you can go after. I actually highlighted ones I think are really interesting. And I had my VA put all this information next to him so it's really organized for you. Do this shit. Now they're like, oh shit, he's already done this much work. I'm only down here. I have so much more I have to do. So he'll want you because he likes you, and he'll also want you because he'll feel just like required to as well. All right. I'd love to hear a situation. I'd love to hear someone tell me a current thing that you want your team, whether it's a manager or a rep, you want them to do. And I want to give you a bunch of things I would do in that moment.
I mean, we could start with this one. It's like, hey,
Sure.
you gotta hit targets. Like your targets on a daily basis is you're gonna have to reach out to, 50 new prospects.
Okay.
Now you're gonna have to do email, calls, LinkedIn, and like those are the 3 minimums that you're gonna have to do.
Fine.
And then you're just gonna have to.
I'm assuming that there's like numbers related to these things, and that's fine. Okay. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a scorecard for them. Scorecard is gonna have number of each of those items, calls, emails, LinkedIn's, physical visits that I want them to do every single day. I'm going to have that backed out from their quota. And before I make their quota, I'm going to back it out as well through their W-2 plan. So I'm going to be like, you want to earn $1 million. To earn $1 million, you need 1,000 sales. To get 1,000 sales, historically, that has meant you need this many calls, emails, phone, in-persons, and LinkedIn's. And I'm going to look at that per day. So they're bought in, super clear what I have to do every single day. I'm going to make sure I train them just on like, here's how the phone system works. It does work in HubSpot. You can click this thing to call. Can you make sure it does work? Okay, you're good to go there. Emails, you see how it BCCs. Great. So that makes sense. LinkedIn, I'll be like, here's 3 examples of how I would reach out to someone on LinkedIn and what's worked. Cool. So now I'm super clear on that. I'm going to let them know, like, here's how it's going to work each week, or what your requirements are per day. Before you get started, I want to let you know requirements for this are a bare minimum that you're doing 75% of this. If you are not either hitting your target or at 75% of this number of like calls and stuff, at that point in time, we're going to then have to think through what the next steps are, which may be performance plans or coaching plans of some kind to make sure that you get out of that dip. So those are the 2 things you have to do. Either 75% of this number or you hit your target. Is there any questions on that? No. Great. That's going to be my clarity. To help them, I'm going to be like, sweet. Actually, the LinkedIn thing I'll bring up now. Here's 3 examples of LinkedIn messages. Here's 3 examples of emails. Here's a script I would use for on the phone. I've already put the emails into HubSpot for you to be templatized. Or if I didn't, here's a video of how to create templates from these emails in HubSpot. Can you open up your LinkedIn right now? Sweet. Can you go to like this guy right here? I just want to make sure that like this, that this will work for you. Copy this stuff on LinkedIn. You dump it into the message. All right, sweet. So that works. So now I've helped them actually do that. Great. And also here is, you can go after anybody in the physical area here, obviously, but here's a map that I had my VA actually stack rank in order of like where they are physically. So if you were to walk anywhere, these are the people I'd recommend that you walk. You walk there. Cool. Sweet. And then each day, I would send the like an automatically generated dashboard that goes to them at like 4 or 5 or whatever time, or 2, it doesn't matter. That's like, here's where you currently are in terms of your calls, your emails, your LinkedIn's, your whatever. I'm not making any comments about it. I'm just like, here's where it is. Anytime things are good, I will give feedback. Hey, when you make the calls, it helps you make money. Anytime they're bad, I will at some point say, hey, when you don't make the calls, it makes it hard for you to make money or whatever they care about. In the Monday meeting, I'll show all of those leaderboards. I'll show it over of calls they made versus their quota, so they can see that I'm following up there. And in the one-on-ones, if they've missed any of those targets, in the one-on-one document under notes, I'm going to be like, check in on his calls. So at the end of the week, let's say he's not performing, I'm going to give him feedback. And if the end of the following week he's not performing, we're going to move to level 2, which will be feedback on that feedback. And the following week it'll be coaching plan, and the following week it'll be PIP and or removal from the. That's my clarification. That's my chef for this person, which is a lot more work than what you probably are doing, which is some level of like throwing a bunch of stuff at him and like sending him a Slack of like, just saw this, maybe that's helpful. Just saw this, maybe that's helpful. How's it going? Maybe you're saying, how's it going? And you're really beefing him up when he's doing really well, and silently getting mad at him, resenting him, and not turning that internal resentment or frustration into tactical actions for this person. What else do we have here for, or is there pushback on that? Or just clarity that you guys would like on that? Hey, I'm in a situation. Why would you do the one-on-ones? Why would you do this or anything like that? Or is there another example of something you're falling into? You want to give me, and I can throw back to you what I would do.
I guess timing. How long do you give this? Like before we move?
I think of everything in sales cycles. So it's like if the sales cycle for the product that you sell is 1 month or less, the timing on this is whatever the word is for like twice a week, bi-weekly or bi-weekly, whatever the fuck it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like that fast. So it'd be like Monday mashup of a conversation and probably once in the beginning of the week as well, maybe like a Thursday or something on Thursday or Friday. If it's like a 3 month, 1 month sales cycle, then I'm looking at this monthly for the most part. And if it's like a 6 month sales cycle, I'm looking more of this quarterly, but basically like once there becomes an issue, then I'm looking at it monthly. You know what I mean? Like it's like I look at you quarterly, but then if it's bad, I'm looking at it monthly. Then if it's bad, I'm looking at it weekly.
Got it.
One bit of not necessarily pushback, but something that came to mind in these scenarios, like when you focus on a quantity of whether that's an activity or what needs to be done, and they're like, oh shit, I got to do it. And they hit those numbers, but that doesn't then translate to the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to understand why. And it might not have been you being clear, or you're not thinking about the distribution or like priority of activities.
Right, or they just
I did it. Why didn't I
activities, but they didn't actually do they just beefed them up.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where I typically will, when the quantity of something goes up, but like the outcome isn't there, it's typically a quality problem. So if I tell everybody I need you to make 100 calls, I'm also tracking like calls to deal ratio. So if I'm like your calls went up, but your call to deal ratio also went up, I'm like, you did shit calls, dude. That's the problem. So now I'm like, hey, this week I need you to focus on making 100 calls, and getting three deals out of it. What do you need to do that? Or let me help you do that. You need to have those throughputs of the blanks per blank or win rate or whatever it is to actually know where the problem.
And for tracking purposes, obviously, like on LinkedIn stuff, like how do you track that? Emails, I guess HubSpot tracks that, and then calls, phone system.
Emails and calls should be tracked by HubSpot. LinkedIn is not tracked. So, but I would, if somebody, the more someone's not doing what I want them to do, the more I'm going to ask them to track. So if he's doing okay, I'll be like, dude, just do your LinkedIn thing, whatever. If he's not doing okay, I'll be like, hey, I need you to start actually like clicking the manual button, like logging LinkedIn event. It takes a couple seconds. It's annoying. It's not as annoying as it is not knowing if you're doing it.
Yeah.
Sorry. When you're cruising,
Gotcha.
I'm not going to worry about it. Cool.
Gotcha.
All right, guys, get the hell out of here. Everything takes a few more steps than you think. You know where to find me. Love you all. See ya.